Okay, we will start the session. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. The problem is that- Hello. Okay, I'm starting now. Today we are going to learn design of rimmed flywheel. So let's learn design of rimmed flywheel here today. There is a time lag between my talking and what you will hear. There the time lag. This is the PhD design data book page in which rimmed flywheel having arm is shown here. So we are going to study how to design this rimmed flywheel for one particular application. So we will take a small problem and then we will go for your design of flywheel. I think I lost the connection again. I'm reconnecting. Yeah, we are connected again. So we are going to design such type of flywheel in application. So to consider the application I can university. So you can use the data from that problem and you can start designing. So let's go to the problem statement first. Okay. So the problem statement for today's discussion is a machine with constant resisting torque. A machine with constant resisting torque is driven by an IC engine. Engine supplies 10 kilowatt power to a flywheel. Okay, so engine supplies 10 kilowatt power to the machine. With in between there is a flywheel. This is a rimmed flywheel. Rimmed flywheel is made up of gray cast iron. That is grade is given here at D150. The density of this gray cast iron is 7300 kg per meter cube. Is used to maintain the speed between 200 rpm to 210 rpm. The fluctuation in the speed permitted is in the range from 200 rpm to 210 rpm. The rim contributes, the rim portion of this flywheel contributes 90% of the required mass moment of motion. Maximum diameter of the flywheel is limited to 2.1 meters. Uh, we will come to the discussion why there is a limit on the diameter of 2.1 meters. That I will explain again. with the factor of safety 7.5, design the flywheel. So considering this data and the factor of safety of 7.5, design the flywheel data. So in this problem, most of the data is given in the problem. In which few things you have to refer in the data. Neglect the effect of restraint of arm on the flywheel. The fluctuation of energy is limited to 25% of the energy required for one complete cycle. Okay, so let's go and design. Given the ferrite grade cast iron given with 150 means the 150 Newton per millimeter square is the ultimate tensile strength. So if you use the factor of safety of 7.5, so 150 upon 7.5, you will get the working strength. We are not going to use this value, but we are going to use still further lower value so that we can design the flywheel appropriately, because the flywheel will have heavy mass, and if it is rotating and fails during the rotation, this will cause the injuries around the working people around. That's why the factor of safety in case of your flywheel and heavy rotating masses design is normally high, greater than 4. So here it is 7.5. Okay, so let's go for the content analysis of this problem first. You have been given here power to be transmitted is 10 kilowatt. So engine is supplying 10 kilowatt. A maximum speed of engine is given in this problem here is 210 rpm. So maximum speed is 210 rpm. Minimum speed n minimum is again given in the problem. It is 200 rpm. So 210 and 200. So your engine say shaft should fluctuate in the speed between 200 rpm to 210 rpm. So it should not drop below this, or it should not go up below this, above this 210 rpm. So you can determine the mean speed of this operation here. Mean speed of the operation will be n max plus n minimum divided by 2. So 210 plus 200 divided by 2. So the average speed or mean speed is 205 rpm. So mean angular speed. So this is your rpm speed. So you can calculate angular speed. So mean angular speed omega is equal to 2 pi n by 60. So n here is 205. So 2 pi into 205 upon 60. So this comes to 1.46 radian per second. This speed need to be maintained by flywheel. The speed for this given date, so based on this value as well as this value. So CS is equal to n max upon minus n minimum upon n. So this is the average speed. This is the fluctuation of the speed. So coefficient of fluctuation of speed is maximum fluctuation upon average speed. So maximum fluctuation is 210 minus 200, and the average speed is 205. So you get the coefficient of fluctuation of speed here is 0.0487. So 4.87% of speed variation is permitted for this problem. Then we have omega max minus minimum, because CS is nothing but again omega max minus omega minimum upon omega. So CS value is 0.0487. So omega max minus omega min will be 0.0487 into omega. So the variation in the angular speed will be, maximum variation in the angular speed will be 1.468 radian per second. So this much of maximum angular speed variation is permitted for the flywheel or for the shaft. Now energy stored or supplied by the flywheel, which is given here. The fluctuation of energy is limited to 75% of the energy required for one complete. So this much of energy need to be stored at some moment and need to be supplied at the other moment when it is starving. So the energy supplied or stored by the flywheel is 25% of the average work done in the cycle. So 25% means 25 by 100. Average work done in the cycle is 2 pi Pm. So Pm stands for the average torque or mean torque acting during that cycle. So this torque can be evaluated from power, or if you know the turning moment diagram and the areas are above means if you know the areas, so you can do the summation of areas and divided by the length of that area, you can determine the mean torque there. Okay, so Pm is the mean torque supplied by the engine. So since we know power, rated power is 10 kilowatt. So 2 pi n Tm upon 60,000. So rated power is 10 kilowatt. The average speed here is 205 RPM. So for average speed, the mean torque value Tm is equal to 465.81 Newton. So this is the mean torque supplied by the engine here. So this value we can use to determine the fluctuation in the energy supplied by our stored wheel. So therefore, energy or stored by flywheel will be equal to U naught, that is will be equal to delta E, that is equal to 25% of 2 pi Tm. So Tm value here is 465.81 Newton meter. So this value will get in Joule. So the amount of energy need to be stored or supplied by flywheel is 731.7 joules. Now the relation between energy requirement or energy supplied and coefficient of fluctuation of speed, this is given as U naught is equal to delta E 1 by 2 I omega square Cs. This is the relation. Now from this relation, since we know U naught, we know omega, we know Cs for this raw length. So we can determine the mass moment of inertia of the flywheel requirement here. What is the mass moment of inertia of the flywheel required here? So we have this value as 731, U naught is 731.7 joule. 1 by 2 I is unknown here. Omega here is 21.46, this value we have calculated here. Omega, average speed here in angular speed, 21.46 radian per second. So 21.46 square. CS is calculated here, that was 0.0487. So 0.0487. So from this we will get the value of mass moment of inertia required for the flywheel I. So mass moment of inertia of the flywheel is 65.24. Okay. So if you look at this diagram here, what they are saying, the rim contributes 90% of the required mass moment of inertia. This is the total mass moment of inertia required, which will be provided by a flywheel. And the flywheel have different elements. The flywheel have hub, flywheel will have arm, and flywheel will have rim. So the major mass content of the flywheel is in the rim. So therefore, and it is at a distance from the radius, larger distance from the radius. So mass moment of inertia, major mass moment of inertia will be of rim. So that's why this statement is there. The rim contributes 90% of the required mass moment of inertia. So required here is 65.24. So rim will supply, that external rim, that radius rim will provide 90% of this mass moment of inertia. That is 65.24 into 0.9. Okay, so that we'll see in the next calculation on the next slide. This calculation I have done, so you can understand this calculation here. So this is the flywheel. Look at this diagram. This is the flywheel. This part, this is a hole for mounting on the shaft. Then this is the diameter. This is the hub diameter. So then there is a rim. This is the rim. This part is rim. This hub and rim are connected by number of arms. So normally number of arms used are 4, 6, 8, 10 or 12 depending upon the size of your flywheel. If your size is very small, then you can use only 3 or 4 arms. If your size is very big, then you can go for 12 arms. So these hub and rim are connected with the help of arm. The arm may be of same material or different material than hub material as well as rim material. So this flywheel may be made up of same integral material, all materials same, or they may be made up of different materials joined together depending upon the size requirement. So big size rim flywheel are normally made up of different materials and they are assembled with the help of bolting, riveting or any other mechanism. But small size flywheels, rim flywheels are normally made up of same material. So same material here, same material here and same material here. So let's, we are going for design of this rim flywheel here with various geometries. The geometries I am using somewhere interchangeably D and DO term. So now we required, we have calculated in the previous slide what is the mass moment of inertia required for the flywheel. That value is 65.24. But in this problem statement, it says that 90% of the required mass moment of inertia will be provided by the rim. So if you come to this diagram, this is the rim. If it this part is rim having mean radius is mean diameter equal to d, and the thickness of this rim is say h, and width of this rim is d. So major mass of this rim is in this flywheel is in the rim, and since it is away from the center here at a distance of around d by 2 here, so majority of mass moment of inertia is provided by this mass which is mounted at the extreme distance. Therefore, the mass of the flywheel rim required. How much mass of the mass is required here? So that will be decided by how much mass moment of inertia we want to provide. We calculated, we required the I value, and out of that I value, this rim will provide 90%. So that's why I'm multiplying here 0.9 by I is equal to m k square, where m is the mass of that rim, and k is the radius of gyration of this flywheel here. So in the first lecture of the flywheel itself, I have demonstrated two diagrams. One is for a solid disc flywheel, another is for armed flywheel. So in the solid disc flywheel, the moment of this radius of gyration is equal to k is equal to r by root 2, and in case of arm flywheel, radius of gyration r is equal means k is equal to r. So that m into k square, where k is the radius of gyration. We are going to see what is the radius of gyration also. So by putting this value of I here, so I get here 0.9 into 65.24 is equal to mk square. So mass of the flywheel required here, the mass of the flywheel rim here, mass of the flywheel rim required here, m is equal to. So if I just multiply this, so we will take this k square down here. So that is 58.72 upon k square. Okay. So this is the one way we can calculate the mass of the rim required. Another way you can calculate the mass of the rim here, not this. Mass of the rim is given by this formula, m. Now if you see, this is your mean diameter d. So if you take this, so this is a circular element. So what is the length of this circular element? It is a circumference. The circumference of this is pi d. Now this having a thickness h. So if you see the cross-sectional area here, cross-sectional area is d into h, and it has a length that if I open here and if you develop that rim, so rim will be a rectangular plate. Normally the rims are manufactured like that. The plate is taken and the plates are rolled. 2 or 3 plates are welded together to get a rimmed flywheel. So you are having a plate having cross section b by h, and having length is equal to the perimeter of the circular geometry d. So that is perimeter is equal to pi d. So pi d b h is the volume of your rim. Multiply by the mass material density rho, you will get the mass of that rim. So this is the mass of the rim based on the moment of inertia requirement. This is the mass of the rim based on the geometry. So when you compare these two masses should be equal. So when we are designing flywheel, these two masses should be equal. So in this equation, let's put the value of rho and other term. So density of the cast iron material is normally in the range from 7,000 to 7,400 kg per meter cube. So I am taken here 7300 kg per meter cube. Thickness of the rim, normally whenever we design rim flywheel, the thickness of the rim is compared to the radius here, or diameter of the flywheel is very, very small. So that's why I am taking this value of the order of h is equal to d by 20. Or in terms of radius, it will be r by 10. So this is the assumption I have made. So no, it is not necessarily it is r by 10. You can take, if required, you can take greater than r by 10 also. If there is a limit on the width of your say flywheel, if you cannot use more width, then you have to increase this h. You can decrease b and you can increase h. Or if you have more space for b, you can keep this h small and you can keep b greater. Again, the relation between b and h is given. So this is available on PhD 7.120. B can be taken in the range from 0.65 to 2H. Again, this width depends upon whether you are using this flywheel, that external surface of the flywheel, for any power transmission mechanism. Sometimes the flywheel itself will be used, if you see the disc type flywheel, if you have seen the diagram, there on the outer surface of that flywheel, there was teeth, gear tooth were there. So they can be used directly to run another mechanism. But in case of large flywheels, rimmed flywheel, this external surface is a flat surface, and this flat surface may be used or may have V grooves on this external surface, may be used for transmitting power mechanism, or you can use V belt mechanism. Then this B need to be increased depending upon the number of belts you are using and what is the width of the belt. So the B value for flat blade should be greater than the width of the belt used in the application. Suppose width of the belt is say 100 and B comes out to be 85 by this calculation, then in that case B minimum should be taken, should be greater than your width of the belt by at least by 2 to 5 centimeters. Suppose width of your belt is 100 millimeters, so this length B should be around 120 to 150 mm. Otherwise, what will happen if your width is insufficient, then belt is likely to slip from the surface and the proper power transmission from the flywheel will not take place to the another shaft. Okay, so many times the flywheel surface, the external surface of the flywheel is used for power transmission with the belt mechanism. So while selecting B, if you are using that belt for operation, the B should be greater than the belt width by at least by 2 to 5 centimeters. Okay, so I am showing this data so you can understand from PSG 7.120 how this data we are taking. Not much data is there in the PSG. So this is the formula, delta E or U naught is equal to I into Ks omega square. Now this Ks value, they have taken it from that is 1 by 2 Cs formula they have used here, 1 by 2 Cs formula. There is a table available for Ks. So 1 by 2 Cs value. So based on the various applications, they have fixed value of Cs. It is not problem specific. It is general observation. So based on the general observation, these Ks values are taken. But in given problem, we have been given the maximum and minimum speed. So we cannot use this table. If the data for the speed is not given, then you can use this table. Otherwise, you can calculate this Ks value. You can calculate this Ks value. Ks is equal to your Cs by 2. Ks value is equal to Cs by 2. That is coefficient of fluctuation divided by 2. So that value depends upon your maximum and minimum speed, and from that you can calculate. So now in that we require K square. So when you required I is equal to mk square. So you require K square. So for such type of flywheel, the K square is equal to dO square plus dO square minus 2S bracket square upon 8. Now if you look at this diagram here, D is your mean diameter, okay, of the rim. dO is the outside diameter of the rim. If your H is comparable, if H value is large compared to if you compare this H value with your D value and it is a recognizable value, then this D and DO has to be used accordingly and K square calculation can be done. If your H value is very, very small, right now in our problem, we have taken H is equal to D by 20. Means if we have taken only the 5% of this value, D is equal to say 1 meter, then my H value is D by 20 means 1000 by 20. So it is coming around say 50 mm. So it can be neglected. So when H is very small, when H is very small, this K square formula, this formula will be reduced to D square by 4. So D is the mean diameter and DO is your external diameter. If H is comparable and if you know the value of H and DO, then you can use this formula for calculation of K square, mk square. So when you are calculating I is equal to mk square. So that K square value can be taken here. And if you are using this flywheel, that is everything is filled here, that is called this flywheel. So in that case, K square is equal to dO square by 8. for this flywheel. That is the simplest form. You have to consider only the outside diameter and you can do the calculation. V is your peripheral speed here, peripheral speed or average speed here. That is equal to pi dm. Okay. So since I am neglecting h value here, I am considering h is very, very small. So I am considering h is very small. So my formula k square is equal to d square by 4. So this formula I can use here, and I can calculate the requirement. I can calculate the value of k square, and that value can be put into the calculation of your mass moment of inertia requirement. So I'm going back to the again to the problem statement. Okay. So here you can see here I am say this is the mass required from this formula. Now in this formula we have found out we require the value of k square. So I am determining this value from the PhD data book. So k square is equal to either this formula when you know the values of DO and H. Now since H we are taken is very, very small, so you can see here H we have taken D by 20, it's very, very small. So I am considering k square is equal to DO square by 4. So I am considering now there is no difference between DO and D because H is small means D and DO are same. So that's why DO square by 4 is nothing but D square by 4. So D square by 4 is nothing but your R square. That is the mean radius square. So we can put now k square is equal to R square in this equation here. So what we have here, this value m is equal to 58.72 upon R square. Another m is here. By putting these values in this formula pi d b h cube, pi here d means in terms of radius it is 2r. Then b this value I have taken here b is equal to 2h. H we have taken as r by 10. So 2h means 2 into r by 10. Then multiply by again h value we have taken here as again r by 10. So r by 10 into rho here is 7300. So by putting all the values in this equation, we get the mass required for the flywheel. That mass required for the flywheel is equal to 292 r cube. So this r, another r here, and r from the diameter, that is p is equal to 2r. So all these products will be raised to r cube. So and remaining coefficient calculation will comes out to be 292 r cube. So this is the one mass. Another mass is here. So these two masses are same. So I'm comparing these masses here. 292 r cube is equal to 58.72 k square. Again, k square value is equal to r square. Okay, k square value is equal to r square. So we are putting this value in this equation here. So from if you take r square on this side, so it will become r raised to 5, and it will come down 58.72 upon 292. And let's take the fifth root of this calculation. So we get radius of the flywheel here by calculating. That is equal to 0.725. It's not a point here. It is 0.725 meter here. So that is nothing but 725.5 millimeters. So this is the value, and approximate value we can take as 725 mm. So your radius of the flywheel here is 725 mm. Now there is a limit on my flywheel diameter. So let's take the flywheel diameter. So let's say outer diameter of the flywheel here is say dy is equal to 2r. So that is equal to 2 into 725, that is 1450 rpm, that is 1.45 meter. And as per the say limit for the space or the speed, it should be less than 2.18 meters. So my calculation is correct. So I'm getting the value required here is 1.45, which is lesser than 2.1 meters. Now, why there may be question why we are putting this limit of less than 2.1 meters. As your diameter increases, your peripheral speed increases, and if your peripheral speed increases, then the centrifugal forces are very, very dominant, and they may cause the failure of the rim material surface, rim surface or rim material because of centrifugal forces, because centrifugal forces are directly proportional to the radius. So if your radius is increasing, your velocity will increase, and as velocity is increasing, your centrifugal force is directly proportional to v square there. So if there is a 25% increase, then also your force will increase by 2.25 times. So considering that fact, you need to maintain your diameter, this diameter, as minimum as possible, and the 2.1 meter diameter is based on the certain speed limit that for certain values, if you go up to certain RPM also, and if your diameter is up to 2.1 also, then also the centrifugal forces will be minimum. So that I can show the diagram here. The various types of speeds are used here. You can hear see. If you are using now we are using cast iron material here, flywheel. So there are, if you are transmitting power less than 100 HP, means around 75 kilowatts. If you are transmitting power less than 75 kilowatts, then your speed, that a peripheral speed should be less than 1,500 meter per minute. That is 1,500 meter per minute. You can calculate in meter per second or meter per minute, and then you can take. Now, in our case, it is a 10 kilowatt power, so which is less than this. So my our speed should be less than 1,500 meter per minute. That also will check whether our speed is less than that. So you can see in the calculation, we have done the calculation of speed. So you can see here, we have done the calculation of DO, that is 1.45, which is less than 2.1, that is done. Then thickness of the flywheel based on this assumption, that is equal to R by 10. So R by 10 means it is 72.5 mm. Then width of this rim here, B. Width of the B we have taken as 2h. If we see in this calculation, we have taken 2h. H is R by 10. So 2h means 2R by 10. So we have taken 2h. So H value is 72.5. So B value is 145 mm. So this is the geometry calculation. What we have done is for a rim flywheel, rim cross section calculation we have done. Now we will check the speed here, whether the speed is in control limit with this dimension or not. Otherwise, we cannot use here. Let me show where I use the speed calculation. The speed is required there. Okay, so let's go here. Now we are going to for we have designed. Now we will check the stresses in the rim. This is the geometry design based on the mass moment of inertia requirement. That is the geometry we have calculated based on the mass required for the flywheel. Now whether that geometry will sustain the stresses induced in the material. So let's take the stresses in the material here. We are checking now stresses in the next slide. So we are checking the stresses in the rim. So for that, first we need to calculate the peripheral velocity of the rim. Peripheral velocity of the rim V is equal to R omega. Omega we know that is 21.46. R right now we have calculated, it is 0.725 meters. So the speed, peripheral speed here is 11.89 meter per second. Now you can convert this meter per second into meter per minute. So if you multiply by 60 here, so meter per minute is 713.83 meter per minute. Now our condition, since we are transmitting power less than 75 kilowatts, so our speed should be less than 1,500 meter per minute. So this condition is satisfied here. You can take this. This was given in the data book. This value should be less than 1,500 meter per minute. So this value is 713.83. So we are satisfying that condition. If this value is very large, then what will be happening? So that there is an effect on the stresses there, because it is the effect of the centrifugal force. So tensile stress due to the centrifugal forces. If this velocity is increased, then your centrifugal forces is going to increase there, and that will cause more tensile stresses on the material there. So tensile stress due to centrifugal force, sigma T is equal to rho V square by 10 raised to 6. So this 10 raised to 6 is put so that say if you are using V here in meter per second and rho here in kg per meter cube, by dividing by 10 raised to 6, you will get the stress value in terms of Newton per millimeter square. Okay, so rho here is 7300, V here is 11.89 meter per second, so 11.89 square upon 10 raised to 6. So the tensile stresses here are 1.032 Newton per millimeter square. At the same time, there will be bending stresses in the rim. Again, bending stresses will depend upon the geometry of this rim. So sigma B is equal to pi by n bracket square into d by h into rho V square. Okay, so this formula has to be used here. Again, rho v square, this value will get in, say, if you use rho here in kg meter cube and v here in, say, meter per second, then you will not get sigma in Newton per millimeter square. So to convert this, I have to divide by 10 to 6. So if you see in the calculation, I have divided by 10 to 6 here, so that I get this value in terms of Newton per millimeter square here. So pi, we are considering here number of arms are 6 here. Since my diameter is around, say, 1500 millimeters, so we can use number of arms around 6 to 8. So let's go for 6 number of arms here. Then diameter here is 725 mm, and height of your rim is here 72.5 mm. Since D and H are of same, it is a ratio of same geometry. That's why I can take in millimeter or meter. It doesn't make any difference here. Rho v square, rho here is your 7,300, and v here is 11.89 into 10 to 6. So this value is already calculated, that is equal to 1.032. So while doing this calculation, I am putting this value here, that is 1.032 into this is 10, this ratio is 10. So 10 into this value into pi by 6 square. So we get bending stress value here as 2.82 Newton per millimeter square. So bending stress induced there is 2.82 Newton per millimeter square. So cross section of your rim is subjected to two types of stresses. One is tensile stress, direct tensile stress because of centrifugal force, and another is bending stress. So you have to combine these two stresses to get the total stresses. So the formula here is sigma total is equal to 3 by 4 sigma t in plus 1 by 4 sigma b. These formulas are given in the PhD. I will show how these formulas are given in the PhD. So you can refer this formula. So these formulas are given here. You can show here. Yes. This is the formula here. Stresses in the rim. Tensile stresses are sigma t is equal to rho v square by 10 raised to 6 I have taken. Now you will say this formula is different. No, this formula is saying this is nothing but your specific weight, and specific weight upon G is nothing but density. Please remember, specific weight upon G is nothing but density. So this is your sometimes you may have used in fluid mechanics, it is a small w. So it is small w by G, small w by G. Small w is your specific weight, G is your gravitational acceleration. So w by G is your nothing but density. So this sigma t is nothing but here rho v square. Okay. So I have written the formula in simplified form so we can understand. So then sigma b here, they have written a very, very complicated formula. I have just factorized that formula properly. So I have taken pi and n term together since they are squared. So I have taken bracket pi by n bracket squared. Then d and h, they are similar terms. This is geometry. This is geometry. So d and h we have taken together. Then gamma v square by g I have taken together. So that is nothing but gamma v square by 2g is not, gamma v square by g is nothing but your sigma t. So gamma v square by g can be written as rho v square. So rho v square. Then the resultant of these two stresses, sigma t and sigma b, is equal to sigma total here. So which is taken as this is more. So the effect of this is more. So that is 3 by 4 sigma t. And effect of bending stress is less. So effect of bending stress is considered as 25%. Effect of tensile stress is considered as 75%. So this formula is used, and this way you can calculate sigma total here. And this value, calculated value, has to be less than particular limit value here given here. 35 kgf, 350 kgf per centimeter means 35 Newton per millimeter square. And sigma t value, suppose this total may be less than that, but sigma t, if it is greater than 65 kgf, then also it fails. So because cast iron material is poor in tensile, so again you have to take sigma t value is less than 65 kgf per millimeter square. 65 kgf per centimeter square means it is 6.5 Newton per millimeter square. So this is the formula to be used for calculation of resultant stress acting on the ring. Now, if this is a plain ring, doesn't have belt on it, so this formula can be used. Suppose if you are using belt transmission there, if you are using the external surface of the flywheel as to mount your V belt or say to mount your flat belt, then the formula are different here. You can see the formula here. These are the formulas for here. You can see here. If there is a belt pulley flywheel, suppose your flywheel consists of itself is a pulley and it has a belt mounted on that, then the formulas are different here. You will have additionally sigma B2. Sigma B1 already shown in that formula. That sigma T is already shown there. So in that case, you have to calculate B2 based on your tension in the tight side, tension in the slack side, then geometry, flywheel geometry, 2n, n is the number of arms, z is the section modulus. So based on that, you can calculate here again sigma total here. And sigma total will be addition of your bending stress, sigma B1 in earlier formula, sigma B2 this formula, and sigma T this formula. Not that earlier sigma T to be used, sigma T for the that this mechanism need to be calculated by this formula. So from that you can calculate sigma total. Suppose if you are using the flywheel itself as a pulley, if you are using flywheel itself as a flat belt pulley, then we have to use the sigma total in this form. In this application, nothing is mentioned, so I am going without pulley mechanism. Say I am not considering this part, so I am considering only these two spaces. That is sigma B1 here. I am considering this sigma T and sigma B here, and I am calculating this value here. Okay. So after calculating these values, has to be less than particular limit, and you need to consider your factor of safety also. So considering that factor of safety, you have to check whether your design is safe or not. So let's go and check whether our design is safe or not. Okay, so let's take, say this is the value, sigma T value is 1.032 Newton per millimeter square, sigma B value is 2.82, and sigma total here is based on this formula. This value is 1.4813 Newton per millimeter square. Now let's take the permissible value. Permissible value for the cast iron material, sigma permissible upon factor of safety. So I am taking the sigma total right now. So 30, which is given there is 350 Newton, say 350 kg per centimeter square. So since you are doing in calculation here Newton per millimeter square, so this is value is 35, which is taken from PSG 120. So factor of safety given in the problem is 7.5. So sigma design value permitted here is 4.67 Newton per millimeter square. Now your induced value has to be less than this design value. So induced value is 1.48 and design value is here 4.67. So it is less than this sigma B value here. Again, it is asked to check your sigma T. This is sigma total. Sigma T also should be less than particular limit. So if you go to the PSG data book, so that limit also you can check here, because you can check that value also. What they are saying, sigma T should be less than 65 kg per centimeter square. 65 means 6.5 Newton per millimeter square. So let's take in our calculation whether it is smaller or not. Okay, so my sigma T value here, your sigma T value here is 1.032, and permissible value, maximum permissible sigma T value is 65, means divided by 10. 65 divided by 10 means it is say around 6.5. So 6.5 is the maximum permissible, and here the induced is 1.032. So we can say our design is safe. Our stresses induced in the rim are of the lower order than the permissible one, that is the permissible value of 4.67. So your rim design here, flywheel rim design here is safe. So one part of the flywheel we have checked. If we go to the diagram here, that this part we have checked. What are the stresses induced in this part, that is the rim part, or what is the stresses induced in this rim part, that we have checked, and we have found out for given geometry, calculated geometry here, these stresses are within the control. So our design is safe. Now let's go and check the design of arm. Say this is your arm. So you have to check the design of arm. So you have to design the arm first, or you can, if you know the arm sizes, standard arm sizes, then you can check for existing application whether these arms can be used or not. Because many times these arms are made up of different materials, and they are joined to this hub surface and this surface with the help of bolting mechanism. They are mounted with the help of bolting or welding mechanism. Okay, so now here we are designing. We are not taking here. We are designing. So we are going to calculate this size A electrical cross section we are going to do. So one size is A, major axis A, minor axis is C. So this size we are going to calculate. This is C and this is A. Let's calculate A and C for this electrical arm here. So for that, first we should know what is this diameter here, shaft diameter here. So I'm calculating not this D. I'm calculating this inside this part. I'm calculating this inside this part here. So T max is equal to, this is based on your maximum shear stress theory. T max is equal to 5/16 tau into dq. So what is the T max? T max is equal to your T mean into your maximum loading capacity. So since your energy requirement is 25% more, so T max has to be greater than mean torque value by 25%. So 1.25 into 465. This is given in the problem, 25% excess. So 1.25 we are taking here. Since it is, this value is in Newton meter, so I am converting in Newton millimeter by multiplying 1000 here. 5/16 as it is. Tau here, permissible value for the shaft material is 45. Since you are using factor of safety in the design, so I will be dividing again, making more safe by dividing by factor of safety. So tau is equal to 45 by 7.5 into d cube. So the diameter of the shaft required here, steel shaft required here, is of the order of 80 mm. So I required this diameter here. This diameter here is equal to 80 mm. Okay. So now we can calculate the size A and B based on the bending stresses calculation. So bending stress calculation is based on this formula sigma B1 upon FOS is equal to T max into D minus T upon N into ZYY into D. This formula is available in the PhD on 120 page, 7.120. I am showing that formula here. Design of arm formula here, stresses in the arm. Yes, stresses in the arm, that is sigma B1 formula. Sigma B1 is equal to MT, that is the bending, your twisting moment, into D minus D upon N in number of arms, section modulus of your arm upon your flywheel diameter, mean diameter of the flywheel or maximum diameter of the flywheel. So this sigma B1 value, when we are designing this arm, sigma B1 value has to be less than 130 kgf per centimeter square. Now since again we are going to use the factor of safety here, so we are going to reduce this value by 130 by 7.5 for design, and that value we are putting here, and we are determining what is the section modulus required for that arm, ZYY value required for the arm, and based on the ZYY value, we can determine the cross section size A, that is the major axis length. We can determine here. A is the major axis of that electrical arm. So this is equal to third root of 64 ZYY upon this is pi. It is not P, it is a pi. So गलती से P print किया गया, but this value is nothing but pi. Okay, so let's go to this calculation here. Okay, so we are doing this calculation here. We have taken D equal to 80 mm. So we are taking this half diameter here. Say, let's say D1. D1 is equal to 2 times the shaft diameter here. So that we should have sufficient material for the hub. So 2 into 80, that's say 160 mm. Then bending stresses at the hub end. So there will be bending stresses here. Bending stresses when they are joining to the hub. This arm is joined to the hub. The stresses induced at this point, that is will be bending stresses. I am taking that bending stress value is equal to the limiting value upon factor of safety, sigma B1 upon factor of safety, into your maximum torque here into D minus T. So this kg per centimeter square. So in terms of Newton per millimeter square, it is 13. So 13 Newton per millimeter square upon factor of safety 7.5. T max, this value is known to you. This value in Newton millimeter we are putting here, 1.25 into 465.81 into 1000. D value we have calculated, it is 1450 millimeter. Diameter of the shaft here, minimum diameter of the shaft here is 80 mm. So if you have very minimum thickness also, then also we can take this. If you know this outer diameter, you can this value can be also put as 160 mm. But we are considering maximum bending stress. So let's take this maximum value, minimum value of shaft diameter itself as 80 mm. This value can be put as this value 160 also, no issue. Upon number of arms we have considered as 6. ZYY is unknown. We are going to determine that. And D is known to us, that is 1450. So that is this diameter here, the average diameter or outside diameter here. So from this we get the ZYY value is equal to 52,897 millimeters cube. And now we can use this formula given in the PhD, cube root of 64 ZYY upon pi. It is not P there, it is pi. So by putting this value, we get the major axis length for the electrical arm. This length, this is the major axis length A, and this is in the plane of rotation. This size is in the plane of rotation here. That is equal to 102.52. So we can take approximately as 105 mm. And this minor axis, that is equal to C, that is this length, minor axis. Minor axis for electrical are normally half the major axis. So C is equal to A by 2. So we can take C is equal to then 52.5 mm. So this is the geometry required for arm. We require number of arms here 6, having elliptical cross section, having major axis length 105 mm and minor axis length 52.5 mm. So this is the design of arm is completed. Okay, so this is regarding the design of your rimmed flywheel. So if you have any doubt, you can unmute and ask. So this is regarding our design of rimmed flywheel. Up till now, no question is asked in the examination whether you are designing rimmed flywheel or not. But there are chances. This is being a new topic being introduced just 1 or 2 years back. So they may ask difficult problems also based on your turning moment diagram. There are the derivations of turning moment diagram. If you have learned the IC engine concept and the turning moment diagram in theory of machine, so the average torque calculation is based on the integration of turning moment diagram. So integration of areas or summation of areas divided by the length of the turning moment diagram, we will get the mean torque value. So I have completed delivery from my side. If you have any doubt, you can ask. You can put into the chat box, as well as you can unmute and ask the doubt.